Hey everybody, it's Crystal B from crystalbastrology.com. And today I want to talk to you about Venus and retrograde. Um, Venus goes into retrograde only about every 18 months or so. It usually aligns up where we see it every other year come into play. The last time Venus was in retrograde was in 2018. Um, this Venus retrograde will begin on May 13th, 2020, and it will extend until June 25th, 2020. And she will be giving all of her attention to the sign of Gemini. And, Venus retrogrades are a fascinating period to watch. They really heighten up relationship activity, and not only bringing people from the past back into your arena for proper closure or in order to kind of reignite things and take it to the next level. She also ends up, bringing situations into play that are connected to our karma and people that we've known or we've been doing a dance with for a very long time. And it's always very, there's so many things to be aware of with the Venus retrograde, but one of the most important things is that you should be aware as to which people you're having situations with or which people are really prominent in your life, because you probably have known them before, or you probably have some sort of old connection. I wanted to purposefully put one of my pictures from my New Zealand trip back in 2017 up, because in 2017 I traveled to New Zealand to meet my friends, the Sisters Collective, and it was actually on the tails of a Venus retrograde. And I told the girls before I came, I said, listen, I said, I can't be with you when Venus is going retrograde, because we were beginning a partnership and I didn't want to hang out with them while Venus was going retrograde. So what I said is, I said, I'm going to come, but I'm going to leave right before Venus goes retrograde. And, I do take this period very seriously, because I've seen it make or break relationships. And if you have a solid relationship, it has the potential to come out of the Venus retrograde in a very strong place, because a rebirth happens at the end of the Venus retrograde. But if you have a weaker relationship, Venus, when she goes backwards, she really can make you see your vulnerabilities. And in order to really understand this retrograde, we have to really think about the sign of Gemini. And Gemini is a sign that likes to play. It likes to, kind of do things in secret. And it also likes to see if the grass is greener on the other side. And, something that is to be said with all Venus retrogrades, regardless of if you regardless of the sign that's dominating the scene, Venus retrogrades are times where people in general like to see what if the grass is greener on the other side, or what does this look like? And it goes in ways that are where they want to step outside of their current relationship, or they potentially want to, maybe there is no relationship in play, but they want to test the waters and see like what would happen if I did this. And I think it's really important to be careful with making any relationship decisions during the Venus retrograde, because it's not an advantageous time to connect. It's more of a time of introspection, a time of, kind of assessing your needs and what it is that you really need and what it is that you want. Maybe you haven't been given the attention that you need, or maybe you haven't been given room to play, or you haven't been given things that get you excited or happy or make you laugh, all Gemini, characteristics, and you want to try to find them elsewhere. And it's not just with relationships, it's also with how we're valued. Maybe you notice that you're not feeling valued. And again, we're in a really difficult time in the world in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. And, it's to be said that, it's a blessing to be working right now. But at the same time, you might be looking at, how much are you giving, and how much are you getting in return if you have a job. And if you don't have a job, you're probably thinking about, well, what do I need to do to get a job? Because Venus is also connected to money. And there's probably going to be a lot of thoughts about money and where to put your money. And again, you should be cautious with making any big long-term investments with Venus retrograde. You should wait until the planet of love and money is moving forward. And it's just important to kind of think about, that value question. Sometimes value has nothing to do with money at all. But some things that I would really suggest is don't make any important relationship decisions that like involve the future in a very long-term capacity until you get to the end of the retrograde, because Venus is always telling a story as she goes through the 40-day period. And the period itself is, you can actually witness it in the sky. She, on May 13th, when she begins her retrograde, she's going to be rather bright in the sky. But as she goes on into the middle of the cycle, she'll actually go dark. She'll go black. And the middle of the cycle actually begins, it will peak on June 3rd. That's like the midway point. And that's always the darkest time, when it comes to relationships, because literally she's so dark in the sky. And you really are seeing things on a very raw level. And again, I think that there's a duality that's in play here. There's a duality in two sides. We have to really kind of think about the Gemini message and what does Gemini like to do? It has two sides that it ultimately needs to integrate into one. And maybe some of us are battling with the two different sides to us. And by the end of the Venus retrograde, you've integrated it. And the beauty of the Venus retrograde is that at the end, and this is June 25th, there's going to be a rebirth. The Venus is reborn as the morning star. And while relationships were really difficult and complicated throughout that period, when she's reborn, this is a chance to renew. This is a chance to fall in love again. This is a chance where you might meet somebody incredibly significant. And it's not just with love, it's also with business partnerships. It's also with, any sort of connections that are meaningful and long lasting. And Venus is all about relationships, and it takes, relationships are in so many parts of our lives. It's with romance, but it's also with our children. It's with our spouses. It's with our family. It's with our siblings. It's with our mothers, our fathers. It's with our businesses, our clientele. So many different shapes and forms she takes. And also beauty. And there's no doubt that a lot of people have not been able to potentially do some of the, kind of Venetian things in taking care of yourself or primming, propping, because so many people have been behind closed doors. And so I think that you may, as Venus goes into her retrograde, you may start experimenting with new things to get your beauty back or find a way to reconnect with your beauty. And again, by the end of the retrograde, we are born again. It's such a wonderful, beautiful thing to think about the end, but going through it is, a little bit more difficult. But just think about that end and think about making clear decisions as you go along. There's going to be a lot of disillusionments, enchantments, and escape tendencies that are going to come out in this Venus retrograde. And that's going to be because Venus is going to be butting heads with Neptune, the planet of illusions, and also Mars, the action planet. So it's just kind of preventing us from seeing things very clearly. So take my astrological advice and, just really kind of think about things from a wider scale than being in the moment. If you get those temptations to do anything outside of the box, just think about the consequences. And also, make sure that you're looking at, the not having rose-colored glasses on as you kind of embark upon things. Sometimes relationships are hard work. It's actually not sometimes, it's a lot. When you have really meaningful relationships, you can't run away from them. And the Gemini here, and also the strong Pisces and the strong, kind of escape tendencies of these mutable signs is going to be really in play. But you can't always run and hide, even though you're going to want to. So just kind of think about that, and think about, tackling things in a way where you can work with the energy versus, letting it go against you. And take care of yourself. It's important to, really kind of love yourself first above everything else in the Venus retrograde, because if you're looking for love in all the wrong places, you usually don't find it. But if you look for love within yourself, that's where you really are able to tap into the most profound benefits of the rebirth of Venus. And, on a final note, I really just want to tell you, I've seen such amazing connections come out of the rebirth of Venus, such wonderful love stories, such wonderful things of renewal, of beginnings with love and romance. And even though, there is a lot of strain in 2020, the rebirth of Venus is something to look forward to. So, good luck with all your Venus retrograde travels. Be safe and be well in wherever she takes you. Bye-bye.